Okay, so we're practicing a medicine Buddha. Medicine Buddha is a practice that's effective for removing sickness. And I think it's useful to have some idea of how we should go about doing the practice and the attitudes that we should have as we're listening to teaching. And so you should generate like an altruistic attitude, kind of the idea that I'm here and practicing and trying to learn, not just to benefit myself, but to benefit other people, and also to fully kind of heal yourself so that you can be the most help to people through clearing away your own suffering. And you're going to do this in order to be of the greatest possible benefit to all beings. And there's no contradiction. We're practicing medicine Buddha initially to heal ourselves, and the healing of ourselves is paramount if we're going to help others, you know. But it kind of gets lost in translation because we forget that we're doing it to help everyone. But the point is, you make that commitment, and it may be in the background, as it were. But it definitely comes to the foreground when your mind changes, that's for sure. And as this practice is about health. So we're talking about mental health, we're talking about physical health. And so you have to create like the best circumstances for you to be able to engage in the practice. So this means that you have to be comfortable in your body and comfortable in your mind. And this means that the door is open for you to become diligent in practice. And for most of us in the West, that means we have to train our bodies because we're not used to sitting cross-legged or on the floor or whatever. And so we have to look at what the best situation is for us and not have any fixed ideas about it, but we should try to make the best of our physical circumstances, you know. And there's no point in doing yourself physical damage through trying to sit in a way that isn't really helpful to you or your practice. And you also have to examine carefully what will actually support my practice. So the aim of practicing what the Buddha taught, or Dharma, is that we want to become like the Buddha. We want to be free from all our suffering. And then we want to be able to help others free themselves from this suffering. And that's the reason we practice the medicine Buddha. And we're not just talking about this life. We may practice the medicine Buddha in order to have a healthy mind and body in this life. Which is fine, because practicing in this way is going to help you and help others. So we practice with this kind of idea in mind. All the practices. But you can take this a stage further by realizing that you're creating like a connection between the practice in this life and imprinting your mind in order that in future lives you'll be drawn to this kind of practice. You might not know why in the beginning, but you're sort of preparing for future lives. And so the practice is, there's two main aspects to the practice. One is the generation stage and one is the completion stage. And the generation stage is a multi-staged process which has to do with everyday life. It has to do with being born. It has to do with living your life. It has to do with the things in your life. And it has to do with your death. And that's basically the whole practice. And this particular practice is a mixture of sutra, which are the words that the Buddha actually spoke, and a mixture of the practice texts, which are the Vajrayana, the Tantric texts. And so you don't really need an empowerment to practice this. It's better to have an empowerment, but you don't need. And this is the work of like the mind, you know. And we need to understand that this mind lives in our body. And they're intimately related. How we think affects our body. How we think and what we do affects our DNA even. Because through the meditation practice you can switch. What are these switches called? Yeah. You can switch on and off things in the genes that the way your mind thinks has a physical effect on your body, or in some cases they're past it, you know. So, and vice versa, you know, you need, if your body's in good health, then you can affect your mind through the body, and you can affect your body through your mind. So in this practice, we imagine our bodies to be in the form of the medicine Buddha. And in this practice, we also have imagine medicine Buddha in front. And the practice, which involves using your imagination and using sound. So all three aspects are being engaged: your body, your speech, and your mind through the imagination. And so you can see it's all interlinked. But this practice in particular is designed for healing. And actually, this is the practice of all Tibetan doctors. So, from the Vajrayana perspective, or the Mahayana perspective, our mind functions in 8 different ways. Called 8 consciousness, and each of these consciousness arise and because of the relationship that our mind has with our body. So what you see consists of an object, and a body part or organic part, which is the eye, and visual consciousness. And so the mind connects all of this. The mind is, if you like, connecting the dots between the object, what you see, and then this appears in your consciousness, the eye consciousness. And those 3 things are needed for this to happen. And so it's the same for all our senses. So the connection between the body and the mind is always there. And so if you begin to transform one of those things, that affects the other 2. Do you see? Affects your perception. So another way of looking at it is if you damage your eye, then visual conscious will be like an internal thing. If you were able to see, if you were blind, then of course it'll be completely different. And maybe we should ask a blind person. I don't know how they experience mental objects. And so this affects our perception, and that's what we're trying to change. We have our perceptions affect how we experience things, you know. When I was in my retreat in January, I went into retreat with these people to do this mindfulness-based stress reduction things. And we were doing a specific exercise about how we perceive things affects how we kind of act and how we think about things. And at the very time that this exercise was going on, I saw what I thought was the most beautiful sunset I had seen for a long time. So I was gazing at this. That's fantastic, you know. And then went back to listening to what was going on, then looked up and thought, oh, that's fantastic, you know. And after about 20 minutes, I realized I hadn't changed at all. And then my eyes saw it in a slightly different way. And what it was the reflection of the light behind me in the glass of the thing, you know. And it was all just black out there, you know. This amazing sunset was going on, and I was going, and then I suddenly realized it hadn't changed for 20 minutes. What's going on? And then my eyes went, oh, and then I could see the kind of light bulb in it, you know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. I told everybody. I said, you'll never guess what.